Mysterious disappearance of flight MH370. On March 8, 2014, Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 disappeared without a trace. It was en route from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing when it vanished from radar, leaving 239 passengers and crew on board. The plane was a Boeing 777, one of the most advanced and reliable aircraft in the world. The pilots were Captain Zari Ahmad Shah and First Officer Fariq Abdul Hamid. Captain Zari was a veteran pilot with over 30 years of experience. He was well respected among his peers and had a passion for flying. First Officer Fariq was younger, with less experience, but was still a qualified and competent pilot. The investigation into the disappearance of flight MH370 started with a focus on the cockpit voice recorder. So you're about to hear the final communication between controllers and Flight 370. Now, when you hear them say flight level 350, they're referring to an altitude of 35,000 feet, which was their assigned altitude. So let's take a listen. The transcript revealed that everything was normal until the last communication from the co-pilot at 1:19 a.m., saying "Good night, Malaysian 370. After that, there was silence. The search for the missing plane was one of the largest and most complex in history. Planes, ships, and submarines from over a dozen countries scoured the ocean for any sign of the missing aircraft. The search was hampered by the vastness of the ocean, the difficulty of the terrain, and the lack of information about where the plane might have gone. The search was divided into two areas: the South China Sea, where the plane was last seen on radar, and the Indian Ocean, where satellite data indicated the plane had flown.
Malaysia's Prime Minister says investigators have a positive ID on the piece of plane wreckage that washed up on a tropical island off the coast of Africa. Jonathan Vigliotti reports from Reunion Island.
Aviation experts examined the 6-foot piece of wreckage at a laboratory in France and determined the piece of wing did come from missing Malaysia Flight 370.
It is my hope that this confirmation, however tragic and painful, will at least bring certainty to the families and loved ones of the 239 people on board.
Authorities say more testing is needed to find out how the flaperon, which keeps a plane level and slows it down when landing, became separated from the rest of the wing. Oceanographers say the type of barnacles found on the wreckage may indicate where the plane crashed, and metal stress may tell investigators how fast it was going in the final moments.
The piece of wing was found along a stretch of coast known for collecting debris from the Indian Ocean. A suitcase was also discovered and will be tested for DNA.
Experts say even with a positive ID on the wreckage, it will be difficult to trace where the rest of the plane may be. Search teams from Malaysia are on Reunion off the coast of Africa, helping local police scour roughly 20 miles of coast. Crews are searching by air and by sea for more debris. With each new day comes the possibility of a new puzzle piece washing on shore. Jonathan Vigliotti, CBS News, Reunion.
In July 2015, a piece of debris from the plane washed up on the shore of Reunion Island, a French territory in the Indian Ocean. The debris was later confirmed to be from MH370. This discovery gave investigators hope that they were on the right track, and the search intensified in the southern Indian Ocean. As the search continued, experts began to speculate about what could have caused the plane to disappear. Was it a mechanical failure, pilot error, or something more sinister? The possibility of a terrorist attack was also considered, given the plane's disappearance in a region known for political unrest and terrorist activity. In the years that followed, investigators analyzed satellite data and focused their search on the southern Indian Ocean. It was determined that the plane had likely flown on autopilot for several hours before crashing into the ocean. This led investigators to consider the possibility of a deliberate act by the pilots, who may have intentionally flown the plane off course and into the ocean. The investigation into the disappearance of MH370 took many twists and turns. One of the most significant was the discovery that Captain Zari had tested a flight pattern on his home flight simulator that closely resembled the final flight path of MH370. This discovery raised questions about the potential involvement of the pilots in the disappearance of the plane. However, it is important to note that the simulation alone did not prove that the pilots were responsible for the disappearance. Aviation experts pointed out that Captain Zari had a passion for flying and may have been using the simulator to practice a challenging and interesting flight path, rather than to plan a deliberate act of wrongdoing. Despite this, the discovery added another layer of complexity to the investigation and fueled speculation about the possible motives of the pilots. The disappearance of flight MH370 was not only a mystery, but it was also a tragedy that affected the lives of hundreds of families. They had to live with the uncertainty and the loss of their loved ones. Many of the families felt that the investigation was not thorough enough, and they demanded answers from the authorities. They organized protests and called for more transparency and accountability. The disappearance of flight MH370 also gave rise to many conspiracy theories. Some people believed that the plane had been hijacked by a government or a terrorist group, while others believed that it had been shot down or diverted to a secret location. These theories were fueled by the lack of concrete evidence and the perceived inconsistencies in the official narrative. However, most experts agree that the most likely explanation is that the plane crashed into the southern Indian Ocean due to a combination of mechanical failure and human error. The disappearance of flight MH370 remains one of the greatest mysteries in aviation history. It is a reminder of the fragility of human life and the unpredictability of the world we live in. As we continue to search for answers, we must also remember the people who lost their lives and the families who continue to grieve. We owe it to them to find out what happened and to learn from this tragedy so that we can prevent similar incidents from happening in the future.